Hello and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, I would like to talk about BTS's Film Out, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of the lyrics, the music video, and its connections to the Bangtan universe. Film Out is a song composed by Jungkook that deals with the themes of memory, longing, and loss that was used as the original soundtrack for the Japanese movie Signal. Now, as anticipated in my comeback theory about the song, Film Out is a ballad that essentially talks about the emotions of a person who remembers somebody that they loved and they seem unable to let go. And in the lyrics, this sense of longing and sadness is explored by comparing memory to the film out process, which is a technique used in filmmaking that converts the images of a video to a traditional film print. This is a process that is usually used when a movie shot on digital camera gets a theatrical release and the production company needs a physical print of the video in order to project it on screen. And since a modern video is shot in a way that records images as an inseparable thread, the film out is used to isolate each frame of a video, separate them into single images, and essentially transform it into a traditional film. Now in the song, this process is compared to a person remembering a moment in their past that is long gone but they still hold on to, and right off the bat, this parallel is very fitting because like the film out isolates each frame of a video, memory allows you to isolate a specific instant in your life no matter how fast it went by in reality. You see, much like what happened back in Lights, Film Out basically compares life to a film. If our life is nothing more than a series of separate moments that go by so quickly that we have the illusion of the passage of time, a traditional film is a series of still images that when projected in rapid succession create the illusion of an image that moves. But like the Film Out allows us to isolate each and every frame of a video, memory has the very same function for the film of our life. As the lyrics tell us, both memory and film essentially create an illusion of reality. When we remember someone, the memory of this person can be so vivid that in our mind they are as real as they were physically there with us. We can feel their warmth, smell their fragrance, listen to their voice, and perceive their energy surrounding us. But like a film gives us a similar illusion only to take it away when the film ends, our imagination can make us reunite with our loved ones only for them to disappear when this fantasy eventually ends. The good thing about memory, however, is that even if it's a temporary escape, it's also a medium that allows us to pick and choose whichever moment we want to remember. Like the Film Out, memory can make us gather specific moments in our life and freeze them in time, so when we remember these moments, the person that we love is always smiling. We only remember the best part of them, the kind heart that defined them, and the love that we shared, so we can find comfort in those memories, because when we fall asleep thinking about them, we can reunite with our loved ones in our dreams. If we fall too deep into this illusion, however, this process can also bring us misery because, as the song tells us, remembering a happier past can also remind us of how sad the present actually is. In the second verse, for instance, a rhyme compares the wounded heart of a person to a plant in decay. If in the past the other person watered that plant and made it bloom, in the present the two glasses that they used to do so are left untouched and unable to fulfill their role, so that wounded heart is now dead. It cannot absorb light and water anymore, and the only thing that is left is a rootless and leafless vow spoken in the memory of what is lost, so it's no surprise that when they see their past projected on the wall that happiness gives them pain, because that is a reality that is not coming back. Now, as we'll see in a second, when it comes to the Bangtan universe, this is not really the case, because in the story the past does come back and that's exactly the problem, but as it turns out, the song is still a very fitting addition to the universe because, just like the story, Film Out essentially focuses on somebody's inability to move on. You see, even if the song can be enjoyed as an independent entity or even associated to the plot of the movie that used it as soundtrack, if we consider the song in the context of the Bangtan universe, it can actually give us a lot of insight about the story that is unfolding. Much like what the song tells us, for instance, the Bangtan universe is a narrative that heavily focuses on the importance that the past has in shaping our present. In the story, Jin makes a pact with the Odette cat because the present is miserable and still holds on to the happy memories of the past. His longing to regain that happiness and save his friends are his driving force at the very beginning and continue to be his driving force throughout the majority of the story, but just like in the song, his inability to let go is both a blessing and a curse because even if his love for the others gives him strength, it's also a source of misery that he cannot escape. Just like in the song, memory gives them comfort only to take it away when the fantasy disappears. In the story, Jin is constantly reunited with the others only to lose them again and again when the time loops reset. So to a certain extent, the eternal journey that Jin is cursed to live through can be compared to a person remembering the past, because every time that he goes back, the reality that he just left never existed for anybody but himself. Throughout the story, Jin has to live with the fact that when the loop resets, his friends will disappear like a fantasy that only truly existed in his own mind. But as we see in the video, Jin is not as alone as he thinks he is, because both Jungkook and V seems to be able to sense his pain through time and space. Now, to be honest with you, this is one of the many details that makes me think that this video is part of the Bangtan universe, because in the story, both Taehyung and Jungkook seem to have a deeper understanding of what is actually going on. In Taehyung's case, for instance, his character is defined by prophetic dreams that give him an insight on the journey that Jin is going through, and even if at the beginning V doesn't really understand the visions that he's having, throughout the story we also see that the more loops Jin goes through, the more his powers actually grow stronger. As we saw in videos like Run, for instance, Taehyung's dreams are initially just that. They are nightmares that he cannot understand and that he tries to ignore because they scare him, but as Jin continues to go back in time, these visions gradually become memories of a past that never took place. As we see in Euphoria, for instance, the boys go back to the beach and find an observatory that wasn't there when they were kids, but as Taehyung sees Jin climbing on top of it, he actually remembers himself climbing it, even if in that timeline he never did, and this is something that obviously confuses Taehyung, and rightfully so. By the time that we get to the Notes 2, however, this power is so strong that he can actually anticipate the events that take place because he remembers them from other timelines, and even if he still doesn't have all the answers, he knows that Jin needs help. This is why in the BTS Universe trailer V tries to connect with him, and at the end of Film Out we see him literally reaching out to the other side even if Jin is no longer there. Taehyung here is able to sense his pain, he knows that the other timelines exist and he wants to help Jin even if he doesn't really know how. But in Jungkook's case, the story is a lot more ambiguous than that, because even if he doesn't have any special powers, his character is defined by a strong intuition regarding the events that take place in the story. You see, even if in the plot Jungkook's journey is heavily connected to Yoongi, his story is also intertwined with Jin's even more in comparison to the others. They are both lonely and melancholic, they both have fathers that never loved them, and most importantly, they are the only characters that ever interacted with the odd-eyed cat. And even if for now we still don't know why that is, this connection is especially fleshed out in videos like Fake Love, where Jungkook and Jin actually mirror each other's actions as they interact with their surroundings. Now, if we consider that in Film Out the video specifically focuses on Jungkook disappearing, one possible explanation could be that in the story Seokjin still has to save him. In the last update from the notes, Jin seems to have successfully broken the time loop after saving Namjoon from the fire, but what he doesn't know is that Jungkook's encounter with the cat actually caused a change in him that the other characters are still unaware of. As we saw back in Fake Love, for instance, the notes end with Jungkook being engulfed by the darkness. He's lost in a place without time, without space and without light, but Jin doesn't know it yet. He thinks that he fixed the problem and that the time loops have stopped, but judging by what we see in Film Out, this may not be the case, and Jungkook might actually be the reason why that is. You see, in the story, JK is gradually overpowered by negative emotions and nobody's there to help him, and Jin has a lot to do with that, because even if his main goal is to save the others, he actually refuses to connect with them. He keeps secrets, he avoids confrontation, and the more we go on, the more he grows cold, distant and angry, so it's no surprise that he keeps on failing, because the key to solve this problem is none other than unity. As we saw back in the webtoon, Jin cannot solve the time loops by himself because his destiny is entangled with the destiny of the other members, so in order to save themselves, everybody has to do their part and nobody can be left behind. Much like in real life, teamwork makes the dream work, in the story everything relies on connection, but as it always happens with BTS, this concept has a much deeper meaning than what it seems, because the connection that we are talking about is actually a connection that starts from within. You see, if we have to understand Film Out and the story as a whole, one thing that we need to keep in mind here is that in BTS's concept, 7 is 1 and 1 is 7. And this means that even if each of them is a separate character in the story, the 7 boys are connected by destiny in a way that they essentially become a single entity. Back in 2017, for instance, this concept was introduced by the VCR of the Wings tour, where BTS told us the 1 and 7 are one the reflection of the other in the water. In 2018, on the other hand, the same concept was portrayed in Fake Love, where the boys were one the reflection of the other in the limbo where the boys had to face their fears in order to overcome them. In 2019, once again BTS reminded us of this concept during Mama, and this time by portraying themselves both as 7 and as 1. And in 2020, this whole concept eventually peaked in the Map of the Soul, where each of the members played a different aspect of a person's identity according to the theories of Carl Jung. Now in 2021, this idea is fleshed out even more in Film Out, because in the video BTS are not only shown as one the reflection of the other, but they're also able to reunite through memory, dreams and imagination, all of which are realities that exist inside of our own mind. As I said before, this connection starts from within, so even if in the reality of the song the boys are separated, their mind can bridge the gap and help them reunite once again. And this is because inside of ourselves, time doesn't exist and space is a concept that we can control and change at will. As we see at the beginning, for instance, Jungkook, Jimin and V are in the house that they used to share with the others, but as JK says in the song, that is their imagination. So even if that place existed at some point, in the scene the room is only real to them because it's inside of their mind. As we see from the hourglass that is placed sideways on the table, this is a place where time doesn't matter because our memories and dreams do not follow the rules of the outside world. If in real life we are born, grow, die and we can never go back, when we use our imagination to dream and to remember, in our mind we can be young forever and we can reunite with our loved ones in the microcosmos that we have inside of ourselves. But as we see in Jin's scene, reality soon catches up to this fantasy because as soon as this illusion ends, the memory of the past eventually disappears. Now, since in the video these memories can also be compared to the time loops that Jin goes through in the story, when we see the members fading away, we also see time resetting and Jin opening a door that shows us a landscape full of doors in the sky. Now these visuals here actually give us an insight on how many times Jin actually went back in order to save his friends. Each door is a different timeline and Jin has walked through them all, but an important information that this scene gives us is that, like in the song The Dream is a medium through which people can reunite, in the story Jin goes back in time by walking through the door of the dream. Now, the door of the dream here is a concept that BTS introduced back in 2019 with a quote by Carl Jung that was featured in RM's performance of Intro Persona. In the quote, Jung says that the dream is a door in the soul that essentially connects us to the cosmos and to the part of us that is as eternal as the universe itself. So the dream is not only a place where we can literally connect with everything that ever existed, but also a place where past, present and future actually mix together with one another. As BTS told us in 2019, all their time is inside of themselves, so in order to go back, Jin essentially has to walk through the door of the dream only to come back out in another time. Bear in mind, in the webtoon, Jin goes back in time in his sleep. He wakes up on day 1 and it's like the timeline that he just left was nothing more than a dream, so it would make sense that the dream is the door, because dream is literally what connects us all. Now, since the dream can be seen as a border that can bring us eternity and makes us reunite before sunrise, this concept also connects BTS to ENHYPEN and Tomorrow X Together and GFriend. So if you want me to make a video about the dream door and how all these groups use it, let me know in the comments down below, because I think that for today I already gave you enough information to think about. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye!